I have a super exciting video for you today, because the reason I said super is because we're going to be talking about super soils and creating them at home so you can grow pest-free, amazing fruit and veg like you possibly may have never grown before. About compost worms, composting, farming worms indoors and out, and growing some of the most awesome food around. You can learn how by clicking the subscribe button and hitting the bell so you don't miss any of my videos.
Welcome world to the Marty's Garden Show.
G'day my friends, Marty Ware from martysgarden.com.au. Now, this is a super exciting video today that I very rarely speak about because I didn't really think the world was ready, but now I can see that this growth is happening. People are starting to talk more about forming and creating organic soils. The thing is, the education really hasn't been passed along much through the generations. There's this generation gap skip where we started moving into chemically synthesized soils, so basically hydroponics in the ground, and we forgot about our living biosystem that lives beneath the ground. Billions upon billions of organisms working together to create a beautiful soil for us to feed us on this planet. And it's so sad that we just let this go. So what I want to do is I want to share with you a story about how I've been doing it here. So it's just going to be a brief step-by-step of how I've reached these results and how I'm going to keep on testing them to make sure I can implement it over and over again. So how I started was on my super sandy soil here, more sand than loam, is I started with straw bale gardens, building on top, throwing compost on top, planting short-rooted plants such as strawberries and little peas, lettuce, little microgreens, things like that, and then chopping them off, not pulling them out, leaving the roots in there and letting everything sort of break down slowly. So it's a bit like what they call a above ground lasagna bed, like that style, but using straw bales, and then just continually feeding on top. And as this starts to rot down, you get the roots go down further and you get bigger crops. So you start getting things like cucumbers, and then you can plant in tomatoes, and you can do all types of amazing plants until eventually it's like a humus that's just sitting on the top layer of the soil. So for me it was of sand. Then I start releasing compost worms into it, and then they start breaking it down, laying their castings and moving around the beneficial bacteria and fungi and things. So we're setting up this living soil, which takes around about anywhere from 3 to 6 months. And within about a year, it's like fine wine. You are getting something really great. And within 2 years, absolutely magical. So I'm at the magical stage now, I believe, because my garden is over 2 years old, where I started on the straw bales, and I'm still top dressing with my own compost that I make here on site here at Marty's Garden. And what I'm seeing is something really amazing. So I'm going to tell you about the story of the papaya tree. Now, I was doing some research about forests and how the mother plants feed their baby plants through the network because they're not getting enough light. Because plants need to uptake the photosynthesis to produce sugars, and then to grow and then set off that biology down below and feed all the biology down below. Well, what they're finding out is that fungi is like the computer network below the ground, and there's a possibility that it's actually sharing the sugars that's created through photosynthesis to its baby plants that are nearby. And this is the reason being that they're starting to know this is because the baby plants in the forest, so we've got the mother plant and baby plants, can't get enough light really to survive. And they've always talked about, oh yeah, the plants keep growing up and growing up and growing up until they reach enough light, and then they can do their thing in the forest, which is right? But at the beginning stages, it's so dark down there, and how can they stay healthy and feed themselves? Well, they believe that through the fungi systems, the sugars are being passed along from the mother plant to the baby plants. And what I did was I planted a papaya tree. Now, if you're watching videos back, you'd see this nice big papaya growing in the mid-north coast in the subtropics, really performing in ways that it shouldn't, much better than, say, most papayas that would be growing in this area locally. Now, there's a few reasons for that. It's very well protected, great soils, and just a really healthy plant overall. So what I did was, once it got too tall, I actually just let it keep on growing for a while because I couldn't reach the fruit anymore. I noticed another papaya, because I was throwing seed out from that same plant but before, was only about 9-10 feet away. And it was growing quite well, and it was growing in a similar type of bedding from the straw bales, moving through and growing up, and it was staying really short and stocky. And I'm like, hang on, that is not getting as much light as the big mother plant. Why is it staying short and stocky and not growing for the light as quickly? And I'm like, maybe, just maybe, because of the way that I've created this soil, the fungi is actually transferring that energy from the mother plant to the baby plant. And I thought, yep, if it doesn't, I'll just keep an eye on it and I won't mention anything to anyone and just see how it goes. And I thought this could be really, really interesting, because I've been trying for years to grow a shorter, stockier papaya like I've seen in Asia, without having to take cuttings from the tree to grow it short and stocky, to do it naturally. And this year, well, this is 9 months this little plant's been alive now. In the tropics, papaya will grow and set fruit in 9 months because it's very hot. They can photosynthesize, grow fast, a lot of rain, that type of thing. So it's a little bit slower here. But I've got flowers with fruit on it, and the plant for me is only under shoulder high, which is amazing because it means it's going to be head high instead of way out there when I'm going to be collecting fruit, and I'm going to be able to collect fruit for another season again after that, because once it gets too high, the bats can come down, the birds will hang on it and peck on it and stuff like that, and then it's almost like, oh, what's the point in having the papaya tree, because they're so yummy, everything else wants to eat it. But when it's low to the ground, the bats won't come and the birds won't come on it, and so more chance for me to harvest lots of fruit. So what I did is as soon as I noticed that it was performing quite well, I chopped the mother plant down, the big tree. Now you'd be going, oh, why would I do that? Well, listen to the story, guys, because this is really interesting, and I've been doing this method for quite a while, but never on a large scale like this, with the chop and leaving. It's called sort of chop and drop, I guess. It's a permaculture method. So I chopped the big mother plant down because it was getting too tall and it was taking over the clothesline as well, and left the base in there and left that whole root network to start to break down and rot, which means all those microorganisms in there, the compost worms, the worms, earthworms, everything that feeds on that type of stuff will break that down, turn that into humus and more food for all the plants, as well as the papaya plant that's off in the distance. And it was well and truly on its way. And so now I have this amazing papaya plant, plus all these other just awesome plants such as betel leaf and parsley and strawberries, kangkong, all growing in there like in this companion style system of no monoculture whatsoever, and just throwing in a bit of compost every now and again and keeping that bio soil alive. It's a super living soil that speaks to each other through the network, shares the sugars, shares the energy. So what's happening is I don't have to feed the soil as much with certain nutrients, because as everything is sort of like, just think there's just this massive vibration of things alive, dying every 30 seconds, breeding just like no tomorrow. We're talking like millions of millions in 1 cubic centimeter. So less than half a cubic inch, we're talking millions of microbes in one bit of compost. And so the key is to build these layers, build the humus zone, and then feed on top. So you've always got this humus zone, this wet, soggy zone that's breaking down. It's like half broken down compost. And you get the soil building down underneath. And as that's building like that, you're creating what they call a water bank, right? So every time it rains, the water is seeping down deeper and deeper and deeper because you're building your soil up and up and up. You're not going through a machine and tilling it and just breaking and killing everything and turning all your soil back into blood and bone of dead material that the plants are going to feed off. We want to feed off living organisms that are breaking down and dying themselves, so you've got that natural blood and bone in there as well. And when these living organisms are moving around, they are creating all the trace minerals. Everything that's in there is starting to feed the plants, and you get this amazing system. And that's where I'm up to now. It's really, really exciting, and I'm going to keep trying to replicate this over time and discuss this more to people that are really, really interested in creating super living soils. So you can do this by looking up how to create like lasagna beds for organic gardening. They do it in biodynamics. They're doing it in all types of above ground garden systems. So if you're interested in getting that going, get a start. You can start in one small spot with one small straw bale or a sugarcane bale. I only started off with 3, and you can just keep feeding that spot, growing in there, pulling plants out of there to eat and consume. It actually takes that square space 2 foot. It just, look, it's super. You're making a super garden. You know those old things they used to talk about. They got the square foot garden. That just takes this to the whole new level. And I really hope that you got something out of this and you're starting to process it and you'll put it into place. The way that you'll learn is by going out, structuring it and doing it. You can look back at some of my videos about straw bale gardening and look at the way that I'm doing it, how I started my gardens. There's plenty here in the channel, and I'll leave a couple up in the link above. I know I've spoken a lot, but I'm super passionate about this, and I wanted to share this story and this movement with you. Obviously, you will need to buy some good compost or make your own on site. And I'm pushing you to make your own on site and get into worm farming as well. You can head over to martysgarden.com.au. There's a free video worm farming crash course over there. There's also a seed raising course for organic gardening, and it's really great stuff. So let's make the change together. We can work on creating a sustainable planet just in our space, in a mass volume, and change many, many things. All right, I'm Marty Ware from Marty's Garden. Please share this video. Get it out to the world so people will understand what we're talking about. There's many more starting to come forward now and talk about the same thing. And I believe there is a revolution happening. So let's share this revolution. Let's help work on making the change. Get it going. All right, so we've got more videos from the Grow Table coming up, more worm farming videos coming up. We've even got some worm farm versus worm farm videos coming up, which is going to be really cool. All right, subscribe. Leave a comment down below about this video because it's a very awesome conversation. I will get back and answer you, and then we'll see you at the next video real soon. Here comes the flexi hand. I love the flexi hand. Bye for now.